So HYROX 365, what this is. On the website, every studio has a login for this. In your studio emails, when this affiliation happened, down at the very bottom, Adam Critchley, I believe, was the gentleman that sent out to everybody in the CSG network of those that became affiliates. So studio managers, head coaches, staff that have access to these emails. Please search for this and see if you can find it, because what's included in it is a lot of value that you can bring to your community, for your coaches, for yourself, and to even like motivate you to go try this out, but also save $1 in the process. So every studio has a discount code that's exclusive to them. For our region, it's set up as F45 and then the studio name, not in caps, and then -15. That applies a 15% discount code for any members that are interested in racing. Your coaches can use this as well. Center Gym Equipment. I'm going to shamelessly plug on this just because I really want their sleds. I think their sleds would be much more beneficial for us instead of the F45 sleds. But we have a 10% off of any gym equipment in there. And if you ever go to a race, if you let them know at the merchandise counter, they have really nice athleisure. It's 15% off. Additionally, with your studio, this is probably the most important thing, is that there's 5 free race tickets in there. And it's kind of important just because it costs anywhere from like $150 to $200 to compete in one of these. They really do build an atmosphere and make it a big deal. So being able to leverage some of this stuff, or even take the opportunity yourself to go check it out, it's available in there. So just a quick refresher on this stuff. I'm going to take a little bit more time now and actually diving into like the style of training of what HYROX is. So what kind of training do I need to be incorporating to prepare myself for my first or my next HYROX race? The top 2 things that I'm going to talk about just from a high level is going to be the style of training with compromised workouts and compromised running. And like, what is the difference between these 2 concepts, and how is this different from what we're doing in F45? So compromised workouts, you could see that example off to the right. It is a workout on HYROX that involves running after or between other exercises. The goal of a compromised workout is to improve the athlete's ability to run while fatigued, and also to complete those workouts as you're coming in under fatigue already. So it typically starts off with a run of a distance mapped somewhere between like a 400 meter to a 1600 meter run, and then going straight into a movement. No rest in between. At F45, we don't really incorporate a lot of running. And so being able to utilize this in that open gym setting is where we can actually do this. We have some styles of workout that are kind of close to this. So like redline is a good example of that kind of workout where you're really not getting any rest at all. It's like very minimal interval training. This is the kind of style of what we're going to emphasize throughout the workouts in the Performance Hub. Compromised running is like its own thing in itself. It is very difficult to push a sled or to do burpee broad jumps or sandbag lunges and then have to go try to move your legs right after. There's a lot of lactic acid that builds up, and it creates a very heavy effect on the legs and can induce a lot of cramping if you do not have the quality of the movement down itself. So compromised running, you can see that off to the left. That is another workout. Y'all can follow this account on Instagram as well. It's just HYROX Workouts. There's a sled push for 2 minutes, and then you go run 500 meters right after that. And then you will incorporate small rounds of rest in there, but typically pretty minimal on the rest. So compromised workouts, compromised running brings us into the actual workout structures and how it's broken down with their lingo within the HYROX 360. So some things that we have done in our F45 training, and I've put examples of classes down that represent these styles. Just the one thing you're going to notice is that there's a change up of lingo as you start going through these workouts. So partner workout format where 2 partners each tackle a separate task. Partner 1 is the timer. Partner 2 works on the assigned task until partner 1 completes this. Think of Tempest, where we have the ergs at the front of the room. Once they hit their meter distance, that cues up everybody else to move, but everybody's working synonymously at the same time. This is going to be one style of workout that you're going to find in there. The I go, you go fashion partner workout, where one completes a set number of reps and the other one's resting until they finish. Our track stars workout, that 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off. Valor, trading off the rep count to try to tackle that task. AMRAP, we all know this one. We've been doing a lot more of these, just as many rounds as possible through a set group of movements. High rise, that middle pod is exactly what we're referring to there. And then this is the one that is a little bit different. This is typically EMOM, which is every minute on the minute. Their terminology for this is top of the minute. And then you'll see TO2M, TO3M. That's like top of every 2 minutes or top of every 3 minutes. So referring back to the last slide as well, you can see this workout right here. The rest 3 minutes in between, typically that is like in every 3 minute, you would be working again in that set. Stage 6 and then benchmark are kind of examples of this. Benchmark's kind of geared more so to like every 2 minutes you start performing your lift. You take that allotted rest time, and then stage 6 with the burpee, every minute you're going in and adding in 1 rep. Additionally, with that, this is a couple other examples of what they have in different styles. They really hit a lot more on the couplets and triplets when they design their workouts. So like your Apex, your stage 4, the 100 rep class, and then Loyals, the triplets, the 3 consecutive movements without rest. This is a style that you're going to find a lot within there. Tabata, not so much, but that is something here that they will incorporate occasionally, like Athletica that we're going to see in this phase. Double Tabata, just doubling up that, and then as many rounds as you can get through. MVP is the example of that one. And then chipper and partner chipper workouts, typically involving high repetitions that you have to tackle together. Again, stage 4 and Valor are another examples of that. So with all that being said, that is the high line there. You have compromised workouts and compromised running. And that is going to be the big 2 things that we are trying to build up for people to improve themselves at HYROX. Then we have the different breakdowns of all the different styles of training that they're going to have incorporated within these workouts. And then now this is actually what you're going to see in the HYROX 365 app itself. They're going to be classified as foundational, engine, power, or complete workouts. So as you're structuring this, and say the next race is coming up into New York and y'all have an allotted 12 weeks out to start building up for this, you can start building these workouts up in a manner and actually incorporate the programming the same way we are doing with F45 now with our base, build, and peak phases. So have a method to the madness if you're going to start structuring this open gym, and get a couple of y'all together to actually talk through some of this before kicking it off. So other things that you're going to see in terminology, I took a screenshot of when you're actually inside the workout hub. This is how it's listed out for you, and I actually love the formatting of it. It is a clean breakdown. It gives you the same kind of description like we have in our F45 TV app. So you can see HYROX 365 kind of synonymously as F45 TV. They have movement videos in there as well, and you're going to notice, I don't know, it's the one thing that all of us love is that they constantly change the names of the movements in our classes. All the movements here are different names from what we're used to as well. So you'll have to take time to look at the videos and even introduce yourself to some new movements. There's a couple of things that they do in here that we don't really do in the F45 classes. So it's another fun little challenge to have. But it lists out the equipment that you need. It shows the actual breakdown of like how to present it, how to set it up, how many athletes can we have in the room. And then you can click those little drop downs there between the warm-up, compromised running, and it has the programming listed out for you. Some common things that you're going to see in the terminology, though, we use a lot of percentages at F45. We'll say we want 50 to 75% on this time or this day, or 75 to 90%, 75 to 85%. So they use RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion. And this is a scale listed out for you to use as a reference to know whenever you're looking at these workouts, like an RPE 9, it's going to be a pretty tough workout. And knowing when do I need to do this for my members. So like if you're looking at wanting to do your first open gym, I would really recommend looking around like the RPE 7s and the 8s and being strategic on how you set yourself up with that. Zones are called stations synonymously. So like we know it as the stations, they know it as the zones. That is how it's going to be listed out. This is the one thing that does get a little bit complicated in it, and you will mess up the timing on how long you actually need to do the workout. Rounds is just the total number of sets that you are completing. So if I had 4 different zones, I'm going to do 4 rounds, and that's just going to be 1 time completed in each zone. That is not going through each zone 4 times. If not, you will double and quadruple your workout time, and nobody needs to be working out for 180 minutes. And then circuits is classified as laps. So whenever you see circuits, that's going to tell you how many times are you completing that specific round of movements or how many times you complete through those zones. And then taking that time now, so I have kind of a breakdown there. You can see how it lists out for you when you click like on the compromised stations. That's a good day for the compromised running. 10 meters of overhead sled push straight into 10 meters of a backward sled drag, straight into 20 meters of a burpee broad jump, and then trying to go run right after that. You can fit typically between 12 and 24 people within this open gym setting. And I would say if you're going to kick off your first few, you might only have 5 or 6 people show up. So equipment's not really going to be too much of an issue. The thing that you really have to be mindful of, though, is just the amount of sleds that you have. We all have 2 sleds. Don't try to push too many workouts in there, or at least know what your alternative movements need to be, as in like a dumbbell front squat or using the bike erg as something to substitute out. So just something to be mindful of. But this is when you click down that drop down, you get a little bit more of a breakdown, and it even shows you down at the very bottom how to set the class up strategically and how to split the members up. So if you're looking at wanting to introduce this, what's been successful for us so far, and it's continuing to grow, just because these time frames really just sticking to them have worked out for us. But the Fridays, typically in the mid-morning, I know a lot of us run a 9 a.m. and maybe a noon class. There could be a gap there. But that mid-morning, that 10 to 11:30 gap has been successful for us at some locations. Even considering, I know demographics may be different where you're at, but the mid-afternoon, after the noon class, that 1 to 4 p.m. gap that you just have about an hour, hour and a half time, give yourself an hour and a half at the minimum to do this one class. So you have enough time to have a quality intro, to explain everything, to organize, and then for everyone to complete the workout. Saturday, you could take a look at doing pre or post class. I can say personally, we don't do them on Saturdays at all. That's just a long enough day as it is, doing the hour-long workouts. I would just be hesitant on doing that. You may just complicate, or it just may become a little too complicated for staff. And then Sunday, pre or post class, typically your morning schedule, that one has been, in my opinion, the most successful one. We get the biggest turnouts for those because a lot of people will do their F45 workout and then hop in and do the HYROX workout as well. So it's a fun, slower day. We can spend a little bit more time with the members as well. Again, the equipment prep for it, just be mindful of how many people you're setting up for, but just kind of recommending like anywhere between 12 to 24 people, 24 definitely at the max. That one gets a little bit tough to have to substitute out the movements in the workout. But 12 is really like a sweet spot in there for quality training. Typically just need one coach to spearhead it. So whoever you want to find to get involved with it, like I said, that email that Adam Critchley had sent out, this is going to have a lot of this login information for y'all if you have not been able to access this yet. And y'all can start talking and hyping up your members with this. The programming as well, just to prepare yourself for it, same way you would use F45 TV. That's why I'm alluding to that here, is this tool needs to be used the exact same. I don't want y'all to get excited and want to go do it and then not have it organized enough to where it feels like a quality training, and then people then don't really find the buy-in to it. So the better you can prep yourself for this and to organize what does that first day look like, the more successful you're going to be. One thing that we've done incredibly well with is utilizing a whiteboard. So I would say if you don't have a big whiteboard in your studio, writing out the workout, listing out the same key components of what's listed out here and using that as your presentation model, since you don't have the TVs to assist you, is something that could actually benefit that intro portion of the workout. And then also doing a demo of the movements so people understand the movement standards. It's, again, a little bit different not having that partner there, but the good thing is you don't really have the timer. You can take your time and actually going through it. And then considering like what would be a standard weight versus a scaled weight, like what should be prescribed today versus scaling the movement. Again, not making anyone feel any less successful. There's just different variations that we can incorporate that still is going to give us the same style of training that we're needing. Now, for those like revenue oriented, this could be a way to start adding in just a little bit more to the membership itself. For limited members and for non-members, we out here will charge in a drop-in or a 5-class pack for those that are interested in wanting to come participate in our HYROX training. And we have actually made some sales on that. You will get traffic driven to you because on the HYROX website now, if you search for your gyms, you will show up as a training ground in the gym locator that's there. So there are going to be athletes naturally like checking these places out. And then they will go check your Instagrams to see if you're actually doing the training or not. And if you're able to post some stuff like this can start driving in that traffic for you. So again, utilizing drop-ins and class packs, you can start really adding like a whole different kind of community within your facility. So I know some people have been kind of on the fence, like about wanting to start this. I want to go ahead and just like throw it out there that if anybody in the entire network, like any region, if y'all have questions on how to roll this out or want to talk a little bit more in depth about it, please shoot me an email. But I would be happy to hop on a call, talk you through it, just because it is an awesome weekend kind of event that you can run consistently that really doesn't cost anything to do. It's just moving. So the movements and the standards I've also included in here just for those to be aware of what is the actual standards for the competition itself. And for those that have that competitiveness or that edge, like I like to coach people to movement standards. I like to try to get them as close to the screen as possible. I'll even tell them like, hey, that rep could have been better. That one wasn't good enough. You could push yourself a little bit more, get a little bit lower. I like knowing standards to competitions like this, just so I can add that spice and element to my coaching for those correct people that actually need that in the class. So for the ski erg and the rower, I'm not going to talk too much about those. Those are pretty straightforward and simple that you can read. But the bigger ones that I really like talking about is like the burpee broad jump, the sandbag lunges, and the wall balls. So like for the burpee broad jump, like making sure, and we do burpees all the time in class, having people not set their hands too far out in front of them, trying to get it down right in front of their feet and drop in and out of that repetition there with the feet landing as close to the hands as they can, or stepping it either way that you need to do it. The sandbag lunges, really emphasizing just like full extension, standing up nice and tall at the very top, locking out the knees and the hips, and then making sure your knee does make contact with the floor, not slamming it, but nice and controlled, making sure you're getting full range of motion. And then for the wall balls, just squat depth is a very big thing, and making sure that people can get those hips slightly below parallel. That is actually a movement requirement in it as well. So if people are getting ready to do it, and they may have a hard time with that in class, if they're showing up for this training, like big thing to really focus on that and to call out the successes in there that are done. So this is going to be all the movement standards and weights. It is intense. So like starting with like everything's in kilograms, so multiply by 2.2 to get your pound conversion. For the women starting, just the women open competition, it's about 204 pounds, 220 pounds on the sled push. Sled pull is about 150, 160 pounds. But then you can see it scales all the way up. So like the pro women, it's actually closer to like a 300-pound push. And then the men, it's all the way up to a 440-pound push on the sled. And then you can see down, it drastically increases as you go through the farmer's carries as well, from 16 kilos all the way up to 24 kilos. For the men's pro, up to 32. But yeah, here's all the standard weights and the things that you can start training towards and for, like with the weights that we have in the class. I would say almost all of our studios have the weights that we actually need. Just the one thing, just to be nice to your turf, using the sleds that heavy, if you have a turf worn down, it's going to keep wearing it down more and more. So that is my quick crash course through, and this is a PDF that I'm going to end up sending out. But this is a tool or a resource I'd love for y'all to thumb through and take to your staff, or y'all can look over it yourself. Just so when you're looking through HYROX 365, you can kind of dive in just a little bit deeper to kind of game plan if that's something you're actually gearing yourself up for.